Improving shoulder health starts with the spine. In this video, I'm going to break down 3 simple beginner movements to separate what makes up upper body movements, and then at the end, we'll put them all together in a cohesive upper body challenge. So for these movements, you can either follow along with me or watch and then try them later. These are great as a joint preparation or movement prep for your lifts. These are great for your mobility days and also as an active recovery day. So let's start with the spine. In order to lift the arm overhead, the spine, the thoracic spine specifically, which goes from the base of your neck to about the bottom of your rib cage or about your waistband of your pants, needs to be able to extend. Okay, if this thoracic spine doesn't extend, then I'm going to be limited in how high I can lift my arm overhead. So if this thoracic spine doesn't extend, I'm going to feel that in my shoulder. If it does extend, which we are aiming for now, I'm going to be able to lift my arm overhead without necessarily needing to improve my shoulder mobility itself. So with the most basic version, we're going to start lying face down with your hands underneath your shoulders. Now we want the lumbar, the lower back, to remain flexed or neutral. So we want the glutes to engage, extending the hips, drive the feet into the floor, and imagine that you're trying to lift your belly button towards the spine away from the floor. That's going to keep that lumbar flexed. You're going to push into the floor to lift the mid back up. So you're not going to lift all the way up into the lower back. We're just going to keep this from the waistband to the top of the neck. So you'll feel some abdominal engagement in this position. Once you're in this thoracic extension, then you're slowly going to lift one hand at a time away from the floor and see if you can maintain that tension in the abdominals and spine, holding that movement, and then come back down. If you feel your lower back doing the work, then you might need to reduce some of that range of motion. You could regress by grabbing a yoga block or something softer and placing it just underneath the rib cage. That will help keep that lumbar flexed as the thoracic spine extends. And if you have a little more limited range of motion, it'll allow you to work within that smaller range of motion. And then you can lift and hold and down. Again, pressing up. So we're going to our passive range here as far as you can go with that assistance of the hands. Let go and hold. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and down. We're going to do 2 more. Now, if you would like to progress the movement, make it more difficult and challenging, then you can do this in a seated position with your legs out in front. Now use your hands to help extend the spine. And now we're also going to be extending that lumbar. Once you find that passive range, now see if you can let go and hold that position with your hands behind your head. 3, 2, 1. Challenge the movement further by crossing the legs. Hold that position as you let go, one hand at a time behind the head. 3, 2, 1, and release. So this opens up our next movement progression, which is the scapula. So once the spine is extending, then we also need the scapula, the shoulder blade, to move and glide freely along the back. Just like if the spine is locked in flexion, if the scapula is locked in protraction or elevation, we're also not going to be able to get very far with that shoulder. If I extend the spine and if I can retract that scapula, then I'm going to be able to get that arm overhead without feeling that shoulder pain. So let's go through some scapula movements. I'm going to face this way so you can see my shoulder blades moving on my spine. You're going to clasp elbows just like this. And we're going to draw circles with the elbows, creating that circular motion with the scapula. So I'll show you this side, and then I'll turn back around. So first, you're going to push your elbows out in front of you. That's going to protract the scapula. Hold that position. Feel almost like a concaveness in your chest. Then you're gonna elevate the scapula, lift the elbows up and shrug your shoulders towards your ears. Then you're gonna retract the scapula, squeezing those elbows towards you, feeling those shoulder blades squeezing towards the spine, and then depress, bring the elbows down and the shoulders away from the ears. Let's go in that same direction again. Now you can do this standing up as well if it's hard to keep your spine extended in this position. So we'll protract, pulling the shoulder blades away from each other, elbows out in front. Elevate, lift the elbows up, shrug the shoulders to the ears. Retract, squeeze the shoulder blades together. Depress, pull those elbows down. And let's go again. Protract, keep tension on the hands and the elbows to really drive a little bit more range of motion as you go through this. And let's go one more in this direction. Elevate, lift the elbows and shoulders up, retract, pull the elbows in, depress, and protract. Now let's reverse the movement. So I'll show you from this side. You're gonna retract, pulling the elbows in, elevate, lifting those shoulders and elbows up, protract, pull those elbows forward, depress. Now as you're doing this, avoid a bunch of neck movement. Keep that neck nice and still and avoid a bunch of spine movement as well. Right? We want to keep the spine and the neck nice and still. Retract, elevate, protract, depress. Let's do two more. I'm going to show you a progression. You can also do this in a hands and knees position. Now the difference is that you're in a closed chain and the hands are not moving. So it's making it a little bit more difficult to feel those scapula gliding along the back, and you're not gonna get that feedback of the hands and the elbows moving with you. So that's your scapula movement, nice and simple. This one takes a lot of coordination, so come back and try this again and again. Eventually those scapula will start moving, but a lot of times it takes a lot of practice. We lose a lot of tension and feeling in the scapula if we don't use them very often. So it will get better over time. It just takes a lot of brain power as well. So let's move into the third and final piece, shoulder movement, specifically shoulder rotation. So these ones are capsule cars. Very simple movement. You're gonna set the outside of your shoulder against either a wall or a door frame or a squat rack is best so that we can move beyond that wall position. And you're gonna find tension pushing into the wall. So I'm gonna drive the side of my arm into the squat rack with my elbow off just slightly. So my elbow is off like 2 inches so that I can rotate beyond the squat rack. Make sure the elbow is straight out from the shoulder, so don't let it drop, and that's gonna be key throughout the entire movement. Make a tight fist so you're squeezing some tension, and then rotate your chest slightly towards that elbow. This is going to really challenge the rotation of that shoulder. Now I'm gonna take my right hand and push this down into internal rotation. Watch that this doesn't happen. So as we rotate from the shoulder, make sure that the shoulder doesn't actually move. We're rotating the upper arm bone, the humerus, within that shoulder joint. So you're gonna push down into your internal rotation, feeling this upper arm bone rotating. And again, make sure that the elbow doesn't drop down. Try to keep the elbow up as you push into internal rotation. Now let's take it into external rotation. Now you don't have to press into that arm for more rotation here. You can simply just feel that movement. Again, make sure the elbow doesn't reach up here or down. So let's go back to internal rotation. We're just exploring the rotation of the shoulder. And external. Now you can progress this movement simply by grabbing a light dumbbell. Over to internal. This is also going to challenge your range of motion. It's going to want to pull you further into that internal rotation. And external, I'm going to turn my palm towards the squat rack here to allow for a little more external rotation with the dumbbell. Let's go one more of each. Keep the shoulder away from the ear. Keep that elbow nice and high. And external. So now let's switch sides. So now we'll go with the right shoulder. It's very normal for one side to feel more mobile than the other. So I'll show you the setup this way. I've got my elbow right in line with the shoulder. Shoulder is down and back away from that elbow. My chest is rotated slightly towards that elbow. I can also cue underneath this arm to keep that elbow nice and high as I go into internal rotation. The name of the game here is tension. The more tension you can produce by squeezing that fist and pushing into the wall, the deeper ranges of motion you're going to be able to achieve. Over to external and internal. Again, you could press that arm to get a little more range of motion. Over to external. And let's do 3 more. You can progress with the weight if needed. Internal and external and internal. So with these extra cues, I'm really just trying to isolate the joint more. Again, we're isolating first, and then we combine all this stuff together. Remember to breathe throughout the movement. All right. So now let's challenge these joints all together. We're going to challenge the spine extension, the scapular movement, and the shoulder movement with a swimmer hover. These are some of my favorites. I'll show you with a yoga block first, but if this is your first time doing this, a yoga block may be really difficult. So this is a progression. You can do this simply without the yoga block. So you're going to lie face down. Hands are going to be behind your head, crossed, overlapping each other with the elbows on the ground. So you're going to retract the scapula, squeezing them towards the spine to lift the elbows up. Then you're going to extend overhead next to your ears. Make sure those arms are all the way straight. Even if you have to open out to the side a little bit, extend the arms fully. And try not to lift those shoulders up towards the ears. From there, you're going to lift up and over, hovering over your yoga block. And as you do that, the thumbs are going to rotate forward and down, and then flip up behind you into shoulder extension here. So now I'm in internal shoulder rotation. Pull those shoulders away from the floor, and then bend those elbows, overlapping the hands again, and then try to slide them up the back. As high as you can go. Then you're going to bring the hands and the elbows down. You might feel a nice deep internal rotation stretch here. I'm going to make this more challenging for myself. And then we reverse the movement. If you feel a lot of straining in your neck, you can also bring a towel or something like a couple inches off the floor to elevate the head and just place it under the forehead. So now we'll reverse the movement, keeping those hands overlapped. Pull the elbows up, retracting the scapula, lift the arms away from the back, extend, try to find internal rotation right away, so try to flip those thumbs in and up. Now as we hover over again, the thumbs are going to go down towards the floor, hovering over that yoga block. Woo. Try to reach the thumbs up, and now the palms up. Lift as you bring them behind the head, and come back down. Now you can also bring your fists together. This might bring a little more tension to the movement. Squeeze those fists. And let's go again. Lift up and retract those scapula. Extend overhead. Find fully straight arms. Feel the triceps working as you lift and hover. Rotate as you hover into internal. Bend behind the back. Try to maintain that height. Bring the hands and the elbows down for a breath. As you exhale, reverse that movement. Extend. Out and around. Up by the ears. Bring those fists together. Let's go one more time for fun. Right? Squeeze the shoulder blades and lift. Extend overhead. Keep this movement nice and smooth. Each inch that you hover, try to lift higher and rotate more from those shoulders. And bend. And reverse that movement. Lifting up. Extend. Hovering around. up by the ears. Oh, clear that yoga block. Bend and rest. Oh, you made it. So that's just a very basic example of how upper body movement is built and how by improving each individual part of the upper body movement, the spine, the scapula, the shoulder rotation, we can mitigate shoulder pain and improve the strength of your overhead or upper body lifts. Thanks so much. If you liked this video, subscribe, like, and share with your friends, and I'll see you next time.